So welcome to week 3 in the hashtag 52 needs. And this week we're looking at, or we're exploring, the need to be heard. And I'm very happy to have with me the international profiling and communication specialist, Alan Stevens, who has worked all over the world with people everywhere and has a wealth of knowledge. And I'm very proud to be part of his project, the Campfire Project, which has puts together people in panel discussions where we discuss our experiences in the most respectful way and share opinions. And the goal is to really enhance each other and be listened to and be heard. So since this is the LinkedIn version of our interview, and it's about leadership, which is my special my special project and my interest, because I think having leaders who can really communicate effectively, manage the emotions and all of that is absolutely crucial if we want to evolve on the planet. Stop talking, Angela. Alan, how does
I'm listening and I'm hearing what you're saying.
how does a leader whose job is actually to listen to people all the time, how do they get their need to be heard and to be listened to met?
Well, when they connect with their staff, one of the biggest things is for staff to feel like they belong and for them to be, loyal and take on the role and take on ownership of their position and everything else. It's the same as a love relationship. We need to know that we belong. We need to know that we contribute. We need to know that we're valued. And
Yes.
the only time we know that is when we're communicated with the right way. And so if you want to work on your business as a leader, instead of working in your business, you've got to take your conversations from that parent-child conversation that you have, because when you have employees, they're the same as children as far as you've got to direct them, you've got to give them instructions, you've got to give them KPIs, you've got to monitor and everything else. Well, that's what a parent does with a child.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got, and at that point, you're working in your business and you're a manager. The moment that you then step back from that and you talk to them as a parent to parent and you treat them in those ways so that they take ownership of the business itself and the work they're doing, they then step up and you have more mature conversations with them. At that point, you do get heard and you get listened to. Because with somebody you're directing, you don't know if they're listening. Because one of the things is we all communicate in different ways. Some people want all the detail, if they're very analytical, and others just want the overview. And if an analytical person's talking to somebody who wants the overview is switching off and not hearing it. And so you need to know how to communicate to the other person. You meet the other person's needs first, and when you've met their needs, then they will respond with yours. It's like, okay, if somebody does such and such, I'll love them. No, that doesn't work. Try that with your kids. Doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
But when you go, okay, if I treat them in this way and they understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, there's boundaries put in place, but they feel comfortable, they've got the boundaries around, so they feel safe and everything else, then that's when they listen to their parents and they hear what the parents have got to say. So help the other person with their needs, first of all, communicate with them in a way, treat them with respect, ask for their opinion and everything else, and not just ask opinion and go, yep, but listen to them and ask them questions about that. Show them you're listening to it. Ask them how that would work. Even the ideas that might seem a little bit off the wall at times, they go, that's a bit crazy. Ask them to explain, because once we really start to listen to somebody, we hear the information that we may not have picked up otherwise. And then we go, oh, there's an idea. Yeah, let's try that. And the communication starts. They start to feel that they've been listened to, that they're respected, that they're valued. And then they really come forward and they want to do more. And at that point, it's now a parent-to-parent relationship. And you can now that's how you become a leader. And now you can work on the business and not in it.
Okay.
Because they will do the work in the business.
Okay. So, I mean, I'll be honest. I call that the adult-to-adult relationship, not the parent-to-parent, because I use the pack model from that's a totally different story. But it's what you're saying. It's two people looking eye to eye, and they're equals in a relationship, and that's the difference between manager and leader. So the leader is somebody who really encourages the person to relate to them as a person. In my book, it's not somebody you put on a pedestal, and you go. you know, you're the great leader, but it's somewhere where you bring out the best in each other.
That's
But
it.
sometimes we have conversations that are about supporting the person and doing their job well. And sometimes we have conversations that are just supporting the person in dealing with their issues, in, you know, managing their challenges and all of that. So is it appropriate for a leader to do that with one of their team members?
To talk about their, you know, the issues that they're having outside the job.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is, because at the end, the result is, you know, we're emotional beings. And when they used to say, oh, if you go to work, switch off your home life, and when you leave work, switch your work life off,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen. We are emotional, and we take everything with us. You know, if we switch it off, really what we're doing is shoving it down, and it's going to
But we
come.
can put it in on the back burner, right?
Yeah. And, you know, we put it on the back burner, we've given fuel to the fire, and it just builds up. If we put it in the trailer behind us, sooner or later, it's going to hit us in the back. So
Yeah.
it's, you know, so it's because if your staff, you know, you communicate with your staff, you really connect with them, and they feel that you're interested, that you're concerned and everything else, their productivity will go up. So you're not doing it just for them, you're doing it for yourself as well.
Mm.
Everything's a two-way street. Even when you're transmitting information to somebody, it's a two-way communication, because you're getting feedback from them. You know whether you've connected with them. If they've got the message right, then they go out and do what it is that you've asked them to do, and you get
Mm-hmm.
your feedback in that. So everything's communication. Everything is connection. You know, if I'm talking to somebody, have I connected?
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing. If
Yeah.
I've connected the right way, then I know that I'll get that response, because, as I said, I can look at somebody and know how they like to receive information. That's all in their face. Then
Mm-hmm.
when I'm talking to them, I've got their body language and expressions that give me the feedback. Have I read them right? Is there something emotionally going on? And because if I'm in a business and I'm trying to direct them about something I want them to do, and I recognize there's something emotional going on, and I ignore that, they're not going to take on what I'm trying to tell them. So I will take that moment and go, okay, what's going on? You know, is there something else? And if I can help them through that, what have I got? I've got somebody who goes, my God, he cared, or she cared. They took notice and everything else. Nobody's done that before. So
Mm.
straight away, you're starting to build loyalty.
Yes.
In you know, how many soldiers have, you know, supported their commanders, right? They put their life on the line to protect their commander or protect other people. It's through that connection. It's a form of love. It's a love connection.
Yes.
But, you know, it's, you know, when people talk about love, they think about sex, but it's, and that's not really love. It's like love itself. In this particular case, people feel valued. They want to be around the people they're with. They want those people to survive and grow and everything else.
Yeah. And that sometimes goes beyond words. It's just, in my experience, it's not necessarily helping somebody by, well, that's always useful, by asking questions and helping somebody work through something, but it's also sometimes important to just be with a person and what they call hold space, and just allow the person to say whatever is on their mind without immediately fixing it, or my favorite, minimizing. It's not that bad, let's just ignore that, let's just go and have a drink. My other favorite, you know, let's just numb it.
Yeah, well, that one's just about, hey, what you're talking about is making me feel uncomfortable. So, oh, it'll be okay. Let's have a drink and everything
Yeah.
else. That's not about the other person. That's about me wanting to feel what they feel.
And that's not about hearing somebody.
Exactly. That's switching them off, because I don't want to know about it. You know, forget about hearing and listening. I just want to know, period. Whereas when you actually, you know, connect with them, it's a completely different thing. And that's the whole thing, is changing that context. You know, all this support, as I say, you know, just listening to somebody. And in fact, if you've got somebody who's being very vocal and as part of their personality, they express themselves. Well, and this is one I usually have between partners. One might be very quiet and the other one's very expressive. The very expressive one starts talking to the quiet one. You know, what do? Another thing that, especially men, but now a lot of women as well, as soon as we hear something, we want to jump in and fix it.
Yeah.
Now, the person may not want to do that. So I've got one statement or one question that I ask somebody who's, you know, venting and everything else. And I go, okay, do you want me to fix it, or do you want me to just listen? Because I can do both.
Yeah.
And if they go, no, I want you to fix it, then I go, okay, well, it might even be something that I've done. And yes, I can fix that. Or it might be something that somebody else has done that I can fix. But if they say, no, I just want you to listen, I just know that they need to vent. That's got nothing to do with me. And if I care about that person, then I'll just sit, let them vent, knowing that when it's over, they're going to feel a little better. And then I had a gentleman in the car with me one day. He was a what do you call it, negotiator and mediator. And as we were driving along, he was talking about somebody. He got really angry. When I asked him, what are you going to do about that situation? He went off the deep end. At the end of it, I said, can I ask you another question? And he said, what's that? And I said, what are you going to do about it? Exactly the same question as the first one, but he had vented. It was out of his system. And then we sat there and he gave me a constructive response.
Yeah.
While he was venting, that couldn't happen. So when I just felt, okay, he's a friend, I want to be there for him, I let him vent. Then I went, okay, now what are you going to do? He laid it all out and he had a positive action to it. If I had shut him down, he would have still been cranky today.
Yeah. I always say that it's the equivalent of having an internal, we've got these internal toxin vats. And when that is full, when it fills up with all the emotions that we're suppressing every day and and we're not allowing ourselves to feel, and then comes a situation where we just explode and then whoever is in front of us just gets it. And that could be in a leadership situation. That could be very unfortunate because that's how people get a reputation for being volatile. And as a leader, it's really important to be consistent. But when we give somebody the opportunity to detox and just saying, look, I'm just going to hold the bucket here, just let it all go, then it really resets the brain in a totally different way. And it releases all of those stress hormones and all of that. And that's when we can start thinking constructively again.
Yeah, because you shift the energy. You're allowing a pattern interrupt from the normal way that they would vent out and run the same cycle every time and build it up, and make it even bigger every time. But you've now given them a chance to vent it. And then you go, okay, tell me more about this. And they can't go any deeper because where's all the anger? It's gone.
Exactly.
And that point, if that's just as far as you're comfortable with, that's fine. But if you're somebody then can do a little bit more with them, then you can ask them, well, okay, now you've vented. And your mind is in a different state. What are you going to do? What are the things you think you could do? And that's when they can think constructively. And at that point, you're definitely listening to them. And they know that you vented. Nobody else has let them vent before. They know that you were, they're on their side. Now you're listening to this. They definitely know they've been listened to and heard.
Yeah.
And, they're loyal to you. This is how we build relationships.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we need to relearn how to listen and how to hear people, because I think it's an art we have forgotten.
Yeah.
As you always say, listen generously, use your ears and eyes in proportion with your mouth, 2 to 1. And and then take it from there.
That's it. Because everybody used to say to me, oh, you got 2 ears and you got 1 mouth. And I go, yeah, and you've also got 2 eyes.
Yeah.
And if you use them, so in that proportion, 4 to 1, really, that the end result is that you're not putting out, it's not the logic, you're actually being able to take in all the senses. And we are emotional beings, about 82% emotion and about 18% logic when they talk about purchasing and other things like that. So if you're using your eyes and ears, they are your emotions. Your mouth is your logic.
Yes.
That's another reason why I say not only use your eyes and ears and mouth in that proportion, but also when you're doing it, listen generously.
Yes. Yeah. And be mindful of the words not being run by your ears, and when you shut down your ears and your eyes.
That's it.
Because that's when things become really unfiltered.
And then when somebody uses a particular word, if I ask 2 people or even a room full of people about what the word loyalty meant to them, if I've got 10 people there, I'll get 10 different answers.
Absolutely.
So if somebody says something without me responding, if it pushes any of my buttons, I'd go, what do you mean by that? Can you explain so I understand exactly your understanding of what that is?
Yeah.
And they go, well, why have I got to explain? I go, well, you would like me to fully understand it so that I can, fix the problem or whatever it is, do whatever it is you want me to do. And they go, oh, okay.
But we do this. We say to somebody, when somebody says loyalty is really important to me, and we go, why? Gives us a very different answer than when we say what specifically is important about loyalty, or loyalty.
That's it.
And what loyalty? What do you mean by loyalty, as you said? And it gives us an insight into how the person actually operates and what kind of, what do they have in their head and in their minds when they say that. And that then changes listening and hearing in a very, very dramatic way.
Exactly. In a huge manner.
Thank you so much, Alan. I know we can continue having this discussion for the next 3 hours, and I know we will at some point. But for now, thank you so much, and thanks everybody for watching. And I'll see you next week.
My pleasure. Bye for now.